Good morning and afternoon.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I'm a little bit overflown with work, but it's okay.
It's starting to get that way for me too.
Yeah,
Just
well,
back to
actually,
back
because I
everything.
had 3 weeks of holiday in Christmas.
Ah, yeah.
That's why I had so much free time. But
Hmm.
now I'm back to normal situation.
Yeah.
Not complaining. I'm okay with it. Um, okay, we're gonna wait a couple of minutes more, I guess. Enrico wrote me that he couldn't make it tonight. He's also he has also a lot of work. Um, I don't know who else. No one else. I think no one else told me anything. Okay. So Sam, have you had time to check the first lessons on YouTube and also the code? I know Harry and
Yeah,
Thomas have did. Did they?
I did check it, but I didn't know the structure of the code, so I didn't want to mess it up. And I was working on the stack blitz on the form itself only. So, uh, but don't have any PR requests yet, though.
Okay.
I think Neville also said he can't attend.
Sorry.
Neville also said he can't attend today.
Oh, uh, Neville. Oh yes, he did. Actually, okay. Okay. So let's start. Um, so let's see. First, before going right into the code, is the process okay? We had some short discussion before the conversation about using the the Git branches and for the environment files, etc., etc. I don't know if I know Thomas and Harry have already figured it out. I don't know, Sam, if you succeeded in make it work on your machine.
Not yet, not yet.
No. Okay.
I did check the documentation for that, and I was trying to, but no, I was not able to do it yet.
Okay. Okay. No problem. So in terms of what has changed uh, since last session, I'm grateful that Thomas has already done the work. That's cool. I have actually nothing more to add. I don't remember exactly what I did. First, I correct some mistakes because at the beginning, when I created the app, instead of SCSS, I used SASS, which is, well, I mean, it's just a question of preference. I don't really like SAS. I prefer CSS because it's a superset of CSS, so you can write normal CSS, and you can also do stuff programmatically. So it was a mistake, and I fixed it. And I don't think I made any changes to the existing code. This is the only thing I did. No, I'm just getting back to Thomas. Change startsheet. This from user profile. Oh yes, I added the landing page. That's we talked about last week. That's why we moved all the services inside the shared module and not the core module to be able to load the landing page as fast as we can. And then I added user route and the user form. Okay. So as Thomas pointed out in his message, in his post, there were two issues. There was the first issue, which was the routing one, is not an issue in itself, but it's not finished. So my intention was when a user first get in or first reach the website, it will get into the landing page, and the only option is presented with is to check in. So in this case, it just push the button and get to the login page with the only the Google social network login option. And then if it's the first time it get into the user get into the app, that's when we automatically reroute him to the user form for him to complete his data. In case he is a returning user, we should not present him with the user form. So we should present him with something else. The point is we haven't created anything else for the moment. So that's why we are not routing anywhere else. So to put that in context, so you see my screen, okay? So we're there. So I think it was probably in somewhere in the app routing module. First here, and then in the core model shared, where it is, services of service. Okay, so this was the point. So this is the new thing from last week. So here we say, well, we're listening to a change in the authentication state. When we get some change, we try to retrieve the user from the database. If we don't get any result from the database, it means that it's the first time the user logged in. So we create a new object of kind user, which is not stored anywhere. Okay, it's just a new object here that we store in the local session. We update the global or the user parameter of the auth service with this value, and then we route the user to the user page, which is the user component with the form. In case we get something from the database at the first time, then we go here. We, of course, update the global variable with the value, and that's it. But this is not the end. Here, we should have something like this. Okay, so the workflow is first time user, you sign in. This creates a record in the authentication database of Firestore, and then you get rerouted to the user form to complete the rest of the information. If you are, yes.
That first part to route to the user form, when I actually run it, it doesn't do that.
Because it's not the first time that.
No, I deleted my user from
also
Firebase.
For the authentication also.
Yeah. Yes, I went through auth and got rid of the user, so there was no user, and then I tried it again as a new user.
Okay.
And it didn't redirect.
So this is weird. This is not intended. Okay. Let's check that. So let me get to here. I don't know if I'm still presenting. So let's see if I present. Okay. So here, I hope you're seeing my Firebase console, no?
Yes, you can see that.
Okay, so I'm deleting. I'm going to authentication, and I'm deleting my account. That's what you did.
Yes, that's what I did.
I'm deleting this account, and I also go to Cloud Firestore, to the user collection, and delete the user.
I didn't delete the user.
Oh, okay.
So then it thought the user was there. Okay.
Exactly. Here, let me get back to the code. So this is subscribing to the change in authentication. When you click the Google login button, this is triggered. Next thing it does, it reaches here. It checks if actually this authentication is correct. So if there is an authenticated user, in your case, it's okay. And then it checks the database. It checks Firestore for your user. And in your case, there were a user, so it will go directly here. That's why.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So, but in any case, you're right. It wouldn't do anything in such as the code is right now. Logging in with an existing account wouldn't leave the landing page, or wouldn't leave the login page. Sorry, because we're not telling him to do so. We're just jumping here, updating the values, and return the value. That's it. So it will stay on the login page and do anything. But the goal is to have a home page where all the fun begin. And if the user is authenticated and already exists, then it will go directly to the home page. Actually, it's so cool. The authentication service the Firestore authentication service is so cool that when you get into the web page, since you're using cookies, it detects that you are authenticated, so you would even see the login page. You will go directly to the home page. This will be triggered with an authenticated user as soon as you reach the website. Okay. So that was the point. So next thing, is it clear for everyone?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So next thing is so we go then. Sorry, where is the app routing? Here. This is the route that I added. So it's exactly the same principle as login. I created. I think we already had it, but I don't remember. In any case, here in section, we have a new section called user. Inside this section, we have a user module, a user routing module, and then a user component. So here in the root routing, we'll have a new path called user that will lazy load this module in case the user requests to go to this URL, to this path. Okay, so then we load this module. As you can see, there's nothing here. There is just the component, the shared module, the common module, which is always there, and the user routing module that only have one path. Well, actually, it's the root path of this child. So no choice there. You can only go to the user component. So in the user component, that's where the fun is. So because some cannot see it, I'm gonna try to showcase that. Oh, and I'm gonna delete document. All right. Present. So present window. All right, so I'm going to localhost. So it will go directly to the landing page. Okay, nothing to do except click on this button. It will take me to saying that I'm not logged in, I'm not signed in, and I can log in with Google. So that's probably, oh yes, you will see the page. So here I log in. We have to wait for a second for the changes to get, and you've seen it has changed like to the page and then to the user form directly. And now you can see on the direction bar, the address bar, we are under the user pass. And here we are presented with a form with the basic data retrieved from the Google account and some more data that we decided to ask the user for. Okay, that's the thing. And then you can change stuff and click save, and it will update the database. Except if there's an error, of course, as Thomas as pointed out. It was not an intended error, but it's a cool one because it makes you think a little bit about how to do that. And I explained because this is a so common case, very, very common case. So what is usually, and maybe Thomas, you can tell us more about that, but because it's more about UX than programming. When you follow this kind of workflow, which is right after the user sign in, you present him with a form to complete, to give some more information. Usually you try to autocomplete or to pre-complete the all the fields with available ID information, because you always have to assume that users are very lazy, and the less work they have to do, the better for you. So that's what we do here. But there is something you can't change, because we decided that the email will be the ID of the user. So you cannot allow the user to change his email, because it's the only way to uniquely identify the guy. So he can't change this email. But you want to show him that you know who he is. So you have to show the email. So you have a problem, because you have a form which is used to update database information, and inside this form there is a field that is disabled because you don't want the user to be able to change the value, but it's still part of the form because you have updated it with you have pre-filled it with the information. So this is a very common process. So in terms of code, let me get back to. Okay, so bye user service. So user component. Okay, so first the HTML, super easy. You don't have to create a form. Okay, this is just for convention. You can create a div or whatever element you wish, as long as you use the form group directive. This could be a div. It will work exactly the same. It doesn't matter. Okay, but by convention, since it's a form, it's much better to put it as a form. Okay, so this is an Angular directive. We're gonna see that in a moment. And this is another Angular directive. Okay, so you have to say, in the code, I'm gonna define a form, and this form will be linked to the form in the HTML. Okay, so the way to link it, to bind the HTML with the code, is through those directives. So in the user component, we have the build form method that will create a user form. Okay, so we have a service which is here, which is provided by Angular for us. So we use dependency injection and we just retrieve it. So that's it, we get it. And we create a group. A form is basically a group of fields. No? So that's it. So this is the form builder. You want to build a group, and then you pass to this function an object. And this object is very easy to build. The easiest way is the key will be the name of the field, and then this is the initial value that you want the form to be populated with. So it could be just null. It will be populated. This value will be populated with null. You can make it a little bit more complex with this. You still name your field, in this case, name, and then you give it an array as a value. And in this array, the first parameter will be the initial value, and the second parameters will be validators, which are also objects provided by Angular. There are a lot of them, and which is very cool is that you can ask for a validator of an email, of a password with certain conditions if it's required, or you can make your own validators. I don't know all of them, but you just change them and it will oblige, it will make, it will render the form valid only if those validators are fulfilled, without any code for your part. So it's very powerful. So here in our case, in our form, we have a name. First, we initialize it with null, and we make it required. The email. Then you have to structure it this way. So the first value of the array is the initial value, and you can also set it as disabled. And then the second parameter is also a validator. In this case, is required. And then the rest is null. Okay, so just this will initialize my form, my Angular form, with no value at all, but with some conditions. And what I'm doing here in the constructor is, as soon as the component, which means the user component, is created, first thing I do is I build this form, which means I'm initializing this form group and assigning it to the user form variable. And the user form variable is this user form variable. This is how you bind the view, the HTML, with the code. So now the HTML knows that what is inside this form is bound to the user form variable, which is declared here. Next thing we do, we subscribe here to the auth service user behavior subject, which means that as soon as we execute this code, we will check for the value of the behavior subject, which consider it here as an observable. But since it's a behavior subject, it already has a value. So we immediately get some value in return. And what we do with the value is to patch it to the form. So this works because the user and the form have the same keys, have the same parameters. Okay, so in the user parameter, sorry, the user here variable is of type user. And as you can see, the user type has name, email, name, photo, URL. Yeah, it has also more stuffs. But these fields exist in this interface, in this user model, and these are the same. Okay, it doesn't really matter if those exist or not. So what Angular will do, it will take the form and will take the fields of the user variable that matches the form fields and patch the value over them. Okay, so with this line here, I forgot something. So yeah, just let me finish. So once we subscribe to the user observable, we get a value, and as soon as we get the value, we patch this value to the form, which means we fill the form with the value that we retrieve from the authentication service. But before that, since it's an observable, we can pipe some operators in it. So the first operator we pipe is a filter, and a filter operator is very easy to understand what it does. It filters. So what you say here is, okay, as soon as we get the value, once this observable is triggered with some data, we're going to pipe them through this function. So we will retrieve this data, and what we will return is a double negation of the variable. I don't know if, can someone explain that what that means?
I think it makes it a true or false.
Not exactly. It's the ID, but it's not exactly that. Good direction, but not exactly that. No ID. Okay, so let me go there. If I type okay, let's imagine we have, this is completely stupid, but okay, we have a variable a which is undefined. what would be the value of exclamation point A?
It's defined, but there is no value.
False. It will say if A. Well, it's a very tricky stuff in JavaScript, so it's a little bit more complex than what I'm going to explain. But in essence, it's like this: if A is something, then it will be true. No, sorry, I'm putting this is so exclamation point in JavaScript is the not operator. Okay, it's the contrary of true. Okay. Like you know that this is equal and this is not equal. Well, sorry of the ligature. So not equal. Okay. So the contrary of equal. So not A means if A is something, then it will be false. But if A is nothing, then the contrary of nothing is true. Is okay. It's true. So what I'm doing is I'm negating the negation. So I'm saying if this is a check to see if my object is null or undefined, what I'm interested in is to know if my object is actually something. So it's the contrary of that. So the not A will be false in this case because A is undefined. Okay, so this is a classic, it's a very classic way to write a filter, which means do stuff in the subscribe, but only if user exists, if it's something. If we get past a null or undefined, it will get filtered. It won't go through the pipe. It will be blocked there. Okay, because then if you do some stuff with user and it's null, it's going to throw a lot of errors. So this is a very common line that you will find in many places. Second operator, the take operator, which is also super easy to understand. As I've already explained, the observable is like a promise that will never end, never resolve. It means that as long as you're subscribed, you will get updated by any changes in the observable. Okay, so it's like a pipe. You connect the pipe on the both ends, and then you throw a stream of information in it. But in our case, we don't want to be updated each time the user the user row in the database is updated, because it's ourselves. So no one else will update that except us. So we just need one update. We don't need more. So having filter here and take one basically means it's a snapshot. It means I'm subscribing to this observable. I'm getting information until the user is actually an object with a value. And as soon as I get a value, I only take the first one. After the first one, I unsubscribe automatically. So this function here will only be called once. And I don't have to take care about unsubscribing from my observable because I use take one. So take one will automatically unsubscribe your observable after one of occurrence. Okay, so I got that. So this is what that does. It's important. You could not use take one and then take care of unsubscribing from your observable in the destroy parameter of the component if you wish, but it's easier that way. Okay, so what's cool about reactive form in Angular? This basically, there's a lot of things, but the first thing are those validators. Those validators make our lives much easier, because the form will check automatically if it's valid or not valid, or if it's dirty, meaning that if someone has changed some value or not. So as you can see here, form control name inside the input of the HTML is referencing the name of the variables or the fields of the form. These are the same as as these. Okay. So as soon as I change the value of those input fields, it will update the Angular form behind. And what will happen each time we change it is that the user form will get updated. We get all these parameters updated. If it's dirty, meaning that if someone has altered the values, or if it's valid. And it's valid only if all the validators are fulfilled. Okay? And so that's why here, as you can see here, the button, I attach a function to the click event. And here, when the function is called, first I check that if the user has changed something on the form, and also if the form is valid, meaning that all these are required stuff are done. Then I use the function that we created in the first session to save the user with the value of the form. And the value of the form is just an object with those fields and their values. Okay? But there is an issue. And it's the issue that Thomas mentioned. If you use this form value, well, we're gonna do it. We're gonna see it in action. Let me get back to one second. Here, source. Okay. You can see the debugger, right? Okay. So I put some breakpoint here on our submit function, and I reload first. Okay, and I click save. So if you hover on the user form variable, you can see all the properties of the form. And as you can see, it's not touched. And where is dirty? And it's not dirty because I haven't changed anything here. So this condition will be false. So we won't get to the next line. So I changed something. I put whatever address, and then I click save. So this time dirty is true because I have changed something, and the form is valid. Okay, because the only required parameters are the name and the email, and they are both filled with some value, so it's okay. So we look at the value of the form. As you can see, it's an object with address, city, country name, photo, and zip. Where is the email? As you can see here, when I create my form, I created specifically a field called email, which is required, which is properly updated when on the first function and displayed on the screen. But here on the value, email has disappeared. And this is because it's disabled. Since it's disabled, Angular understands that you just wanted to show it to the user, but it's not actually a part of the data you want to save. So it won't give it to you. So you have a problem. As Thomas said, he found it out. He said, okay, so that's probably because it's disabled, because it's the only difference that you have versus the other fields. So we can not make it disable. And actually it's true. If you don't make it disable, then you have an error. Okay. So let me just change it on the code, reload. Okay, and now you've seen that I've changed disable to false. Okay, so now I could change the email, but that's not what I want, because if I change the email, I will create a new user with this new email. So it's not a good solution either. But in the case, just for you to see that, it's let me put this. Okay, so the form is valid. I go there, and now in value, here's my email. So it's back. So it's correct. It's because of the disable. So I won't say that. So what you have to do to solve this issue is, instead of using value, it's using the function called getRawValue of the form. Value will strip the disable fields of your form. GetRawValue, as the name indicates, it will get the raw value of the form. So now if I change that and I save and I look at the raw value, now I have my email back. Okay, in saving it, it's just using our service. And the first thing that our service function did was to check if the user email exists. See the exclamation point. Before that, the email field, there were no email field, so user email was undefined. That's why we had an error. It will throw an error because we were checking if with the exclamation point with the not operator, if the email was existed or not. And if it does exist, then this condition is true, is false. Sorry. So here it's false. And this is true. So if it's okay, then I go to the next line and I just set the new value of this document with the user variable parameters that I get from the calling function. That's it. And now if I reload, then we have the AAA as an address, which is correctly stored in the database. Questions?
So when I was trying to debug this, I did not come up on this getRawValue in the docs. Like if I was trying to solve a problem like this and I'm not familiar with that particular feature, what's kind of your process that you go through? Because I knew that there had to be a different way that you submit this, but I just didn't know what should it be.
By?
I knew that there was a different way that this needed to be submitted because it needed to have the email in it. Mm-hmm. But I did not know about getRawValue. So if I am at that point and I'm trying to debug, like what would be a suggestion? Just keep looking through the docs till I find something.
No, so actually you do the same as we all did, because it's not very known. It's not very something that usually people teach you on YouTube channels or on documentation. It's a very subtle thing. So obviously I haven't learned it. I just hit it in a code and it faced exactly the same issue as you did. I follow the same processing and obviously looking at this, I say, okay, this is the only field that has something different from the other, so it should be related to that. So you change it from false to true, and then you see that effectively changing from false to true or to true to false, then the field appears again in value. So that clearly it's because it's disabled. Okay, fine, but now what? How? So that's where using TypeScript is so cool, because you just click the dot and then you have all the possibilities of the form here. So you scroll. You just scroll, and then you see getRawValue. Oh, sounds like something that could work.
Okay.
That's it. There's nothing. There's nothing else.
Okay.
Or you can put a request or look in Stack Overflow. But first thing is just scroll on. Say set value. These are events. Scroll about the properties and the function, and usually. It's something, something that is pretty obvious. No, getRawValue. quite self-explanatory. So maybe it's not it, but you just use it and you see if it works.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's another way to do it. I don't know, but that's the way I use.
Okay. And I think
That's
if you
awesome.
hover over it, it can also, it gives you IntelliSense. So here it says retrieves all values regardless of disabled status. If I've done that.
Exactly. When you
If you put it in and then
yes.
hover your mouse over it there.
Yeah.
So it tells you exactly.
Exactly, including any disabled control. So yeah, clearly it's the way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah, it's great to see how the thinking process goes behind the scenes. Thank you for that.
Okay. Well, actually, I don't have to say anything. So now we're here. So I wanted to show you. I haven't figured out prepare anything very special, but some cool stuff. No, I don't think that. I don't need that. I want. Where is the user component? Here. Okay. So here, let me get back to the. Are you still seeing VS Code?
It just disappeared.
Oh, so you're not seeing anything?
Yeah, it's just a black screen.
Oh, so yeah, it's okay. So here is our form. Okay, when we arrive at the form. So here we have a button that we can click, and what we do here is check if it's meaningless to save the data, and being sorry, if it's meaningful, not meaningless, meaningful if to save the data, if it makes sense, and it makes sense only in two conditions. If the data has changed, okay, what's the point of saving exactly the same data? No point. And you're charged with run write in Firestore. Usually you don't usually have a lot of trouble with writes, but it's stupid to consume one if you don't need to. And the second thing is, obviously you don't want to save data that is not valid, that doesn't fulfill all your requirements, so you don't do that. But in terms of user experience, this is not a good way, because here, if I don't touch anything, I click save, and nothing happens. Actually, if I put a breakpoint here, this will never reach. It will be never reached, and I can click. So in terms of user experience, the user doesn't have any feedback of what's happening here. It doesn't know if it's saved, it is not saved. This is not cool. That's not a way to do it. So what you should do is enabling the save button only if you want the user to be able to save, meaning that if the conditions are not fulfilled, you can't save. So there's an easy way to do that. And getting back to VS Code. Okay, so I'm going to put it like this. Okay, so here we have a button, and what we want to do is for the button to be disabled if in the cases we don't want the user to be able to save. Okay, so we can use the, again, if you want to know what kind of parameters Angular understands, you just use the square brackets. Square brackets inside HTML elements allows you to access the property of this element. So by default, you have access to all the standard base HTML properties of the normal element, but also some that could be created by if it's a custom element. For example, we'll see that in another lesson. But here I want to use the disable property of the button, which is an HTML normal property. But here we can use it dynamically. So I can say I want the button to be disabled if the user form is pristine, which is the user form. I think I can have IntelliSense here. Yeah, is pristine. Pristine is the contrary of dirty. Okay. Or if the user form is invalid. Either this one or this one is true. I want the button disabled. Okay, so it's the contrary of what you're saying in the code. In the code, you say, I only allow the user if the form is dirty and valid. But here you're saying, I want to prevent the user to click the button. In which case, in case he hasn't touched the form, or in case the form is not valid. So I just linked the disable property of the button to those two fields. Save. Get back to the browser. I think it's, yes, it's here. Okay. And now you see that the button is disabled. Like I can't click that. Okay. But if I, as soon as I do something, then now it's enabled. And if I get back to what it was before, it's still enabled because I have altered the data. Even if then I've corrected and put it the same way, it's not checking that. It's just checking if you have changed something at some point. Okay, so now it's a much better user experience to have the button disable if it's not valid. It's not okay to save the data. All right. I haven't prepared anything else, so I'm completely okay if you want to talk about something else, because I don't want to get into. Maybe I remember. Oh, let's see. I'm gonna see. I had a conversation with Harry this week about the app. I don't remember. Do you remember, Harry, what we were talking about?
About like this app or the app that like I'm making?
Yeah, well, no, the one you're making, but it was
Oh.
a. Let me
Give me a
see.
second.
It was back and forth, and there was some interesting stuff there. How can I find me here?
Oh yeah, like I found it. So
Oh, I can't load it.
can I send you the thread somehow? Like
Hey, you can. Okay, you can share your screen if you want.
Oh yeah, wait. All right, so can you see the screen?
Yeah. It's loading. No, I can't see anything, but it's too small. Yeah, it's very small. I can't see it. I'm blind. I'm too old.
Maybe I can send you
If
like
you can zoom
a
in.
link of the thread of the
Yes.
Slack
Yes.
thread.
Yes.
How do we do that though?
I don't know if you see something, Thomas.
Copy link. Yeah, wait. Now, like, you can show us the thing.
Yeah. Oh shit! It's opening it in. Wait. Sure, Sam. Send me a private message with your GitHub user. Okay. This is this one. Okay. I don't know if I can put that bigger. Yeah. Present window. Okay.
Yeah, we can see that one.
Yeah. Oh, I already added you, I think. I will check, Sam.
Oh,
I will check it.
thank you. It was expired. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, make a long story short. So Harris is developing the app on his own. So that's why I told you the first session. His ID is a great ID in itself, but it's all a great ID as an example to build the course upon. So in the app, there is a part where you scan the QR code of a user. Okay, so we have a library that scans the code, and when the code is scanned, the library calls this function, the on-scan success function, and it will pass the result as a string. So what Harry was doing, in this function, he was storing this value in the component user ID variable, and then it was saving this value, the user ID, in a collection. Okay, so it was no, actually, okay, he was retrieving the document from the database with this user ID, getting the data from this document, and then add it to another collection called recent user. Okay, which is, it's quite understandable. Someone goes by the entrance, scan the code, so the application check if the guy already is known, is in the database. If he's in the database, it just add a new document in the recent user collection. Everything works fine. Problem is, the scan library is continuous, meaning that it probably scanning every second or every millisecond. I don't know the rate, but it's always scanning. So when you pass your phone or your QR in front of the scan, this function get triggered dozens of times. So he had an issue because this function was run dozens of times. It was reading and writing the same data over and over again. And this is not the behavior that we wanted. What you want is, you want to scan, and then that's it. And if there's another guy coming up, then you want to scan again and to do the process, but not with the same. So the issue, he was trying to solve it inside the function. So inside the function, you cannot, it's very hard to do it like this. Even if it's not a question of promises or whatever, on putting some timeout. The correct solution, I think we can go, I don't know if we have the full code here. That was a long conversation. Okay. Okay, this is it. So this is the component. So first, to solve this issue, what we do is, inside the component, we create a variable called whatever you want, which is a behavior subject. This will hold the value that the scan will get you. In the constructor, then you subscribe to this QR behavior subject, and you do again the same stuff as we did before. First, you check that the value that is going through the pipe is meaningful. It is something. It's not null or it's not undefined. And then you use another operator called distinct until changed. And what this, well, I will tell you that what this operator will do after that. And in the subscribe method, then you save. Well, you do what you want to do with the database. So in this case, you retrieve the user and you save the new one in the recent user collection. Okay. And what you put inside the on-scan success function, which is the function that is called by the scanner, and it will be called dozens of times per second. You just update this behavior subject with the results that the function gives you. So this will be called a lot of time. So this will be triggered, this part of the code will be triggered a lot of time. But since we have used the distinct until change operator here, it won't reach this part until the value that goes through the pipe is different than the last one. Okay? So this will be only triggered if it's a new ID, not the same one. Okay? So it's a way to do it. Maybe it doesn't fit your need, because maybe you want, maybe in other case, maybe, you know, the user go through the scan on the evening and then nobody else goes, and then the user come back in the morning, he want to scan again and it doesn't work because he's still the last one to have used the application. So it won't you, I mean, you have to make it a little bit more complex, no? Maybe some kind of timeout to reset or some stuff like that, no? Another one that could be useful is called debounce. You use debounce here instead of distinct until change. You use debounce with a time in milliseconds, and it's sort of a buffer. So what it does is, if this is triggered a lot of time per second, the debounce operator won't let the data pass until you've reached this amount of time. So, for example, it is used to listen to the mouse cursor event. When you are in HTML, you can listen to the mouse event, and it will get triggered each time the mouse move even 1 pixel. So if you want to trigger an event, for example, if you go from this line to this line, actually you're going through all the pixels, but you don't want to trigger an event on those pixels. You just want to trigger an event when it changes. So you could use the debounce to say, okay, just listen to the mouse event each second. Even if you receive a lot more information in the meantime, you just don't care about them. You don't let them pass. You wait for the time that the user specified to elapse to let the data flow until the subscribe function.
With the debounce, you would lose somebody who comes right after.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So you have to be careful on the time that you use. If you put debounce with, I don't know, 5 hours, it's not a good idea. But in those cases, when you're using, for example, using for the mouse from cameras or stuff like that, you can put debounce, or debounce is mostly used with autocomplete fields. When you write something and the program check into the database to give you some alternative to complete the word you're typing. Usually debounce is used there because while the user is typing, you don't actually want to query the database because the user has not finished typing what they want to type. So you need to wait until the user has finished typing. So what you do is you use a debounce with 200 milliseconds or something like that. And the user, usually when you type, this is the rhythm of someone typing correctly. It's 5 or 4 or 3 keys per second. So 200, 400 milliseconds. So it will wait for each time there's an event, it resets the timer, and it will wait for the amount of time you tell them to trigger the event. So if you say 100 seconds, it will only get the event that comes after 100 seconds. All the events in between will get throwaway. So you have to take care, depending on what is the application. So you have to take care about what time you want to put in. All right. Something else you want to comment? Any other question?
So with the form, it has that ability to do the validation. Eventually, you would show the user. In other times when I use forms, if a field is not valid, you can display that on the form itself.
Yes, very easily. Actually, there's also a component, a directive in Angular to do it, but I don't remember exactly the syntax right now. So we can do it. We can do it manually. So here we can. Sorry, we can put a new span, for example. Well, not on the zip code, because the zip code is okay. Which one is not the email?
You can do the name, and then if you close it,
then
give it the name.
Yeah. So we're gonna put some break here, and here we say field required. Okay, since I'm lazy. Oh, you can do that. That's cool also in Angular. Style, color, equal red. Okay, so if I do that, the field required will be displayed. Okay, but what I can do is using this directive in Angular, ngIf. Okay, everything Angular is ng. So ngIf user form invalid. Okay, so I save. I stop. A ver. You can see my screen, no?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so the problem is with the autocomplete, you cannot see it appearing. So that's the. So here just P, it's okay. If I delete P, it appears. If I put something, it disappears. Of course, you have to style it correctly, not the bold way I did, but the function is here. You can perfectly do that, or you can show an icon on the side or whatever you wish. But the logic of displaying or not displaying is there. There is also a little bit more complex way to do that. Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah. The other thing that you can do that I showed you before. Let's see if I remember correctly. This is okay. ngIf is okay if you want, if it's just for one line. Okay, like this, one element, or maybe one element containing a lot of stuff, and you want to show or not show. But there is another thing which is cool. I don't remember if. Let's see if I can remember how you do it. Else, it's okay. And then here we can put an ng template. We call it. It's okay. I'm not sure it's exactly this way, but what you can do is this. You can use the ng for directive, the same way as you do, we did before. So the condition if user form invalid, then a semicolon, and then you put else in case this condition is false, else, and then you call another element that you can name in Angular with the pound sign. So this is more or less the same as doing this, but for Angular. So this won't name the component for Angular. Angular won't understand it, but this way it will. So it is pretty cool for other. For example, if you have an input, you can call it, you can give it a name, and then use the value of the input somewhere else. I'll show you that in a second. So you can use the ng template, which is a invisible element that contains whatever you want to show, and with it's okay. So I think this should work. I'm gonna check it first. Doesn't work. I don't remember. I think you have to use a container. That's it's crappy. I think it's in the login user pipe service sign up. We did it here. Yes. So you have to use the container. Okay, so you do an ng container. Inside this container, you show okay, so you create a container. Inside the container with the condition, you put whatever you want to show if the condition is true. Then you create a template, you give it a name, and this is the name that you will use in case the condition is false. So all this will, based on the invalid property, will show this or this. Let's see if it works. And it doesn't work. ng template. Oh, I'm stupid. I still had the condition on the second span, so made no sense. No, it's okay. What the heck? Okay, now it works. Now it works. Here. So if you have no value, it will display the red stuff, and if you have a value, it will display the blue stuff. So that's why you can switch between one and the other. And what is cool, I'm going to get rid of all this, okay, and just show you as a finer trick. Let's give a name to this input and call it name input. Okay, so pound and whatever name you want to give. Okay?
We can't see your screen.
Sorry?
We can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I go to the name input and I give it a name for Angular. So name input, okay, with the pound sign. And then at the bottom, below the form, I put a new div, and here I can use interpolation, and I can say name input value. Okay, so I'm just here. I have named this input field element. Sorry. So now Angular knows that this HTML element is for him. Now it's like an Angular component. So I have access to all its properties. So name input, I can do whatever we want, and I can use his value or whatever. So the value is okay. So let me share the screen. Okay, so now you can see it below. It's repeating what's in the text, and it's just a copy. It's a way to repeat the information somewhere else if you need to, or you can also alter it or whatever you wish to. A trick could be useful sometimes. All right. I have nothing else in my bag today.
This was good. It was good.
So what if I have time this week? What I will do is to create the venue form. Okay, so I will try to see if we can do some new stuff, because just creating the value form that doesn't bring any new concept on the table. It's actually the same stuff as this one. So let's see if I can see if creating the venue. Well, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, okay. I already know that there is some interesting aspect of it. For example, to create a venue. Well, actually, who creates a venue? A user. So let's say, to make it easy, that the venue owner is the user that creates this venue. So at the same time, we will have to save the data inside all the data of the venue, but also the venue sum up inside the user document. Remember that in the user model, we had the venue owned field that will hold some of the most important information of a venue as a resume of what venue each owner has. So we have at the same time to store the value in both collections. And this is done through a batch. You have to do what is called an atomic operation, meaning that you do several operations, but they have to be successful all of them together. So if one fails, everything fails. So I will show you how to do that. And that's it for today. Except if you have any question.
No question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you, and we keep in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.